I am Tony Bellew and you are watching Toffee TV.
Welcome to Toffee TV. This is the final word from Everton 2, Manchester City 1. First leg of the Capital One Cup. What a night, Baz. What a night at Goodison Park. As they say, the place was rocking.
Still suffering?
I'm feeling a little bit better, but got to get myself up for this, haven't I? If anyone's seen the instant reaction video last night, I didn't have any voice, to be bad.
Oh, you got to cry. Your voice kept breaking.
It was cracking a little bit, like.
Yeah, it was very good, mate, wasn't it? It was as anticipated. Just have a drink, chill. It was it was good. It was really, really good. The crowd, obviously they had the atmosphere. Their fans, were loud as well, and everyone turned up and backed the team and got behind the players and came together as one, I suppose. And in the end, there's the result, and that's the reward for it.
Did you ever think like there was going to be any doubt that the fans? This is like, I don't quite get why people thought there was going to be any issue with that. I don't understand why anyone ever thought it wasn't going to be sold out. Everton fans are notorious for sort of late walk-ups. You'll have fans who'll sit there who are fuming. A couple of hours before, suddenly the excitement starts in, and they go, "Well, I think I better get down there." It always happens. It always happens with Everton fans.
I didn't think there'd be a problem with the atmosphere. I was just reacting to the fact that there was a lot of talk before, and obviously the manager had come out and I wouldn't say called the fans out, but he
did. He called the fans out. I'm not afraid to say it. He called the fans out.
I'm not saying I'm afraid to say it, but he didn't. He was saying he felt as though everyone would get behind him, which is a backhanded thing. In order to say.
Roberto Martinez feels that the crowd have let the players down the last few weeks. He does. That's the way he feels.
I would counter that to the players have let the fans down.
That's not a counter. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's not a counter. I'm just saying what Roberto Martinez. And so that doesn't matter anyway. That's a negative that I only want to bring up because this is a positive. This is going to be a positive show. Listen, what happened was at 7 o'clock, that team sheet came out. And if anyone had any doubts or worries or issues or taking any grievances into that ground, they were all gone. Because as soon as that team sheet came out, I'm not going to speak for you, but suddenly I just went, yes, we are going to be on it tonight. We are going to be on it. And if it doesn't work out, we'll have had to go, because I know by looking at this team that we're going to have a go.
Definitely, well, it was the team what we hoped, didn't we? In the final word after Spurs, it was the team we asked for, wasn't it? We wanted Cleverly on the left. We felt Baz deserved to stay in, and we wanted Joe Robles in goal, and that's what we got. So no one, like you say, no one going into the ground could have had any issue. Certainly not the people who've been asking for these changes to be made, and the team come out and demonstrated that from the first whistle. I mean, just a couple of people get really impatient, and last night there was a couple of groans early on. I was thinking, it's not going to be like this, is it? But that did settle down, because I think you've got to realise that's a team that's being almost £1 billion in the making. So they're gonna have the ball, they're gonna knock it around well, and you've got to be patient. It was a semi-final. It's about being patient, and I'd said beforehand it was about being sensible. I always felt we'd win, and it was about being sensible, and that's exactly what Everton were last night.
Yeah, you're playing against a team like that. You're going to expect them to have the ball for large periods of the game. You've got to respect the players they've got, and I think we did that last night. And in a way, it's sort of un-Martinez because he wants to have the ball. But when Everton have been at their best under Roberto Martinez, it's when we've been playing teams that are seen as better than us, and we've played on the counter-attack. Even at home, you think about the times we've beaten Arsenal and Manchester United, we've played as the counter-attacking side, and that's what we pretty much set up last night to do. We didn't play on the counter-attack, but we played to soak it up and then go out with the ball. I just thought once that first 20 minutes was gone, Man City are the type of team that get bored. It's dead clear they get bored, and people like Yaya Toure gets bored. He's as good as anyone, but he's not an all-round. He's not a great, simply because he doesn't have the patience in himself and the team, I don't think. And I think with Besic getting at him and picking his pocket and tell him to shut up and all that. He got under his skin very quickly, and I just think once we got out of that first 20 minutes and we got out of it, then I just thought from then on we just kept on getting better and better.
Yeah, I think the crowd, the crowd accepted that they were going to have the ball. And the other thing was they weren't cutting us open in that 20 minutes. They had a couple of shots which were well wide, and you think you're right, you get a little bit bored, but I think we just looked better balanced all over the pitch. We cleverly give us that bit of balance on the left hand side. We were in nice shape. Delafay for the first 20 minutes was having to defend and he was having to hold his position, and I thought he'd done that quite well. Bezic was marvellous from the word go, you know what I mean? He's put that first tackle in, it was a strong one. Then he's gone and nicked the ball off Toure when he's about to shoot with the slide tackle. And that set the tone, the crowd were up and bouncing. And it was job done then, it was about them managing the game. And I thought, without going on too much about the goalkeeper, I thought he just, I mean, I don't know how you felt, but to me, there was never a threat. Whenever the ball went near our box, I was just calm, because I knew that he'd come and deal with it. He calms everything down. But when the ball goes out for a goal kick, he quickly on it, straight, the players have got the ball before anyone's even allowed to settle down. He's just straight on it, bringing us forward, barking all the time. And with that brings a stability, it brings a confidence behind him. And I thought we were up against who I regard as the best striker in the Premier League in Europe. Yeah. Obviously Rom's up there doing it. Aguero is not questionable at all. He's amazing. Yeah, okay.
Let's not have a discussion.
No, but he's up in that bracket. For me, he's in that
just
bracket.
His injury record.
He's in that bracket. If he wasn't injured all the time, I think he'd surpass that, because that's how good he is.
He's a great player.
And Everton kept him fairly quiet.
Well, we stopped the ball getting to him. That's pretty much what we did. We stopped the ball. We didn't give David Silva any time on it. We just kept on getting stuck in. Barry, Besic were just fantastic individually. Barry always knows where to be. He's always at the right places. But as we've said in the last few weeks, you need someone around him who is prepared to just put a shift in it as well and sniff, be up and down. And that's what Besic did.
He was incredible. He was incredible. He got on the ball. He's good on the ball. I'm amazed that there was Everton. And everyone's got an opinion, and that's fine. But I struggle to see their opinion in terms of Besic, because for me, he's never let us down. He was impressive at the World Cup. We signed him. People still hold that Chelsea flick against him. They seem to forget it. Was 5-3 in the game. He was dead and buried. It was the 91st minute when he done it. And I think the other times he's been used like out wide and stuff. But I think of like Anfield last year when he came in, he hadn't been playing. He come into midfield, and we got a draw, and he shut that midfield down. At Goodison in the derby in February, played the midfield and was excellent. He's never really let us down. That's his position. In the middle of the park, that's where he plays, and the reason why he's not been in is because it's called James McCarthy. Do you know what I mean? And Roberto Martinez loves McCarthy is did I say McCartney then?
I don't know.
Paul McCartney. James McCarthy is a fantastic player for Everton, but he doesn't give you what Besic gives you. Probably a little bit of vice versa, but Mo Besic has got a chance now. McCarthy's out for a month, so probably maybe even a bit longer. He's got a chance to nail that position down, because I thought alongside Gareth Barry, they were excellent. Barry was majestic last night as well, just sitting in, switching the play. And like you said, when he's got someone who's busy around him, who will do exactly the same as him, but put a bit of snide in, what we've been calling for. It closed the game down.
He's dynamic as well, Besic, isn't he? We've seen all the tricks and the flicks and all. He's got a repertoire of different skills. Even the one which was like coming over his head, and he just flicked it back over his head, and just simple. And he almost seems to do them in slow motion as well. It's almost like the player he's got who's with him is like, what did you just? What did he just do?
The pirouette in slow motion was amazing.
It was so slow, but it was still amazing. It bamboozled everyone.
Yeah.
But he's got something about him. He's got a little bit, I don't know, he's obviously different from James McCarthy. And we were talking about this, I think after the Spurs game, we were saying, it's not about having two sitters, it's about having one sitter and then having players around them. And it's almost like particular roles. And that's what I felt like it was more last night. It was like they had particular roles to do with themselves. And I felt like they both complemented each other brilliantly.
Yeah, I think he got it right all over the park really with the personnel. But the players make that, you know what I mean? We've said, haven't we, we wanted to see him in there. We wanted a little bit of a different mix-up. When you've got that different make-up in that midfield, it creates a different side. The other thing, what I would say is, he set the tone, Besic, the way that Strachwell he's done in the past, Phil Neville with a tackle, another thing Aaron Lennon did last year. You've got someone there who's prepared to go and put that tackle in and running around, it's the crowd up. The crowd I want to see a good solid tackle. You know what I mean? Get stuck in and it means something to him. You see him screaming his head off if he misplaces a pass, or if the player doesn't take his pass. You want to see that passion because it's infectious. And when you see that other players then after match that, the crowd match it. And when Everton are like that, a mixture of fight and steel match with great football, then they're as good as anything around. And we've seen what we've been missing. That was our capabilities last night. Talking to a few City fans after it, and they were like, how are you not in the top four the way you play?
But like, we don't play like that.
We don't defend.
We don't play like that.
We don't defend like we did last night. We don't play like, and we haven't been because the person has been different.
You know, we've called that Martinez in the last few weeks and stuff, and you know, had a couple of people on to me today saying, you know, you're going to give Roberto Martinez credit. Yes, I'm going to give him credit for changing up a little bit. You know, going back to what works. It's not any less fancy. The football last night from it was fantastic. Going forward, we were as good as ever. But we looked solid. You know, the last half an hour of the Spurs game, and all it was, and all we've been asking for, is a little change in the setup. Not having a centre forward who plays on the left, and that's not blaming Kone. That's saying you can't have a centre forward who plays on the left. You've got to have someone who plays on the left and that's what we've had in the last 1.5 games.
If you've got someone on the left, you can have a forward player who plays on the left, but he's got to have a bit more than what Kone's got. It's all about horses for courses, but it's also about ability with people. Aruna Kone is essentially a target man. You knock it into him, he'll get hold of it for you, he'll lay it off. He's not someone who can get up and down, he's not pacey enough to get up and down. He's not really got tricks, he's not going to drop a shoulder and go on the outside and put a cross in. So it's the makeup of who is there. Tom Cleverley went and sat out there and he offered protection for Baines. Seen people saying he didn't think he'd done well in the first half. I thought he closed down a big threat for him in the first half, and he was willing to help Baines out. He'd drop in, Baines was able to get it. And for me, Cleverley and Osman in the second half are the reason why Baines had such a good game last night, because he had people in front of him who would say, right, I'll sit then and you can bomb on. Doesn't get that with Coleman.
I've played in that position on left midfield where basically your only job is to just fill up the gap and make sure the opposition doesn't come and almost let your full back go forward. And it is a horrible, tedious job to do. And that's why I thought Cleverley did it so well first half, and why Osman did it so well second half, because it does nullify what you can do as a player in a way. You are almost just sacrificing yourself for someone else. But that's what you've got to do, haven't you? And that's why it's such an important role, I think, is because it's clear that, you know, we are just look so much of more of a solid team when we play like that. And you've got Delafeu on the other side who can just, he's literally got the freedom of that wing then, because, you know, we are solid. We can sacrifice an attack and play without worrying too much. The midfield can all shift over one and get shuffle into his position, or it works, and it's what we've been calling for. So fair play to Roberto Martinez for recognising that, because he could have been very stubborn, but you know, I think we were at the point where something had to change, and hopefully it has changed, because I think if he was to think about going back to playing the way we've been playing, you're getting ahead of yourself. He's been getting ahead of himself and thinking this team is better than it is, capable of just having total control over the ball. We can't do that. Not many teams can do that. You've got to be organised. And we looked so much better last night. We just looked better all over the park. Stones still doing what he's doing. He's still coming out at the back. No one's told him he doesn't have to do that. Coleman's was still bombing down the right. Baines is bombing forward. Besic was, at times, was getting right next to Ron. We weren't any more adventurous, but as a team, we were just solid. It just made such a difference.
It's all about the ability to mix it up, though, and that's the thing, is that you can still keep your players, you can keep that shape, you can get players moving up and down, players sucking in. You know what you're getting from each player. That was the difference, and he said it. Stones was excellent last night. I've been critical of him lately, the way he's defended. I think last night he was, I think the second half against Spurs, he got his head together all over. The Cruyffs didn't help. Last night there was no Cruyff. It's alright, Steve, you just come in, make a noise. There was you know, the Cruyffs and stuff went last night, and he was prepared to roll it back to Joe. And I think you're right in terms of if you've got players who are willing to work hard, but you've also got the ability to shift across, you can have that. You've got Ross bombing forward, you've got Delafeu bombing forward, you know, you've got Ron there. You still get very cleverly goes forward. He's not a defensive midfield player. He's a player who wants to get forward and pick that pass. So it is tinkering. Yeah, Martin has made massive mistakes this year, but he's still a good, you know, he's got the ability to be a really good manager. There's a lot of things he does really, really well. The little tinkering can make him and take Everton up a level, and it's right that with this squad, with the talent where we are, isn't high enough. Of course it's not high enough, you know, he's had more money, bigger wages than anyone else, this squad. It should be doing better. And when he plays like he did last night with that balance, it shows that we should be doing better, and it shows that a lot of the stuff he's been working on comes to fruition.
The thing was, I thought when we were going forward, there was times when we were playing 4-4-2, and then there was times when we were playing 4-3-3, and we were just subtly moving between the two. And again, it worked, whereas it doesn't work if Coney has to run 25 yards to get back into position, and then before he knows it, the ball's down the other end, he's got to run 35 yards to stop the danger. It just doesn't work. And last night, as I say, it just all worked. And you know, Funes Mori, last night, he just defended. He had a great game because he just. I'm not saying all he had to do was defend, but his mind was singular. It was tunnel vision, and that allowed you to see the best things out of him. Whereas in the last few weeks, and we've seen it with Stones as well, they're getting dragged all over the place. They're having to fill that gap in front because no one else is doing it. You know, people don't quite understand what. Well, some people might understand, like when you're playing football, if there's any space on the pitch, someone else has to fill that space, and then someone has to fill that space, and you're continually lopsided, or there's always going to be a gap. If there's one gap, there's always going to be a gap somewhere else, and we've been unable to fill that in the last few weeks, and that was very evident that wasn't going to happen last night, because you can't allow David Silva to have space, you can't allow Aguero to have space, and I just think it all worked perfectly.
Well, it did, because you've got Bezic, who did a lot of the running around, he covered a lot of ground. Barry was brilliant, and when you've got that solid base, everything else is solid. You've got the defenders not having to step into that gap before, because you've got two men there, but you've got people who can then take the ball, and Bezic was taking the ball. Barkley's dynamic, so when he gets it, he takes you 30 yards up the pitch. It just all worked right, and it shows you that when Everton get the balance right, there isn't many better than them in the Premier League, and you know, whether it was a one-off game, a two-legged game, whatever, Everton showed they were good enough to match. That wasn't a lucky win.
No.
Last night, not at all.
Because they didn't have really that many clear-cut chances.
Joel's makes one fantastic save.
We made two good saves.
First one from Aguero in the first half was a good save, and one from De Bruyne, whatever you want to call him, in the second half was a really, really good save. And other than that, everything he done was assured. He took it down with header from Fernandinho, which was a comfortable save. But he was just so calm and assured, and everyone else was. And when everyone else is calm and assured, the crowd are behind it. The crowd last night, the big bugbear at the moment is Tim Howard, right? And it's been Coney, because people are frustrated. You can't kid 40,000 people, 35,000 people. And that's been a bugbear. And you'll get people who defend them. Fair enough, that everyone's entitled to an opinion, of course, but that groundswell of opinion of, like, there's changes needed. Them changes were made last night, so no one had an issue. Yeah. So the calmness was around the stadium. So, and what was brilliant was, even when Navas equalised, normally, like, people are shouting or screaming, or you feel a place deflate. It didn't happen. Everyone just, in fact, did you hear the roar as they were walking back to take the centre? The Everton fans were back. Come on, let's go again.
We didn't deserve it.
I mean, they didn't deserve it. That there was a goal in, another goal for us, and lo and behold, we performed.
A minute later, and we're back in front. And as you say, we didn't deserve. They didn't. They've had hardly any chat. Right, they've had a lot of possession, but so what? We've had a lot of possession in games, and those doesn't always mean you deserve it. You know, if a team's solid and it's tactically solid, sometimes the team having a lot of the ball is the other team's tactic. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, going back to our goal, first one, brilliantly, perfectly timed. Normally we're on the end of them, but you know, number one, we found someone who can finally take corners. Tom Cleverley.
Yeah, corners are great.
His corners are brilliant. He took two in a row there. Brilliant. Just puts them right in the pocket. Just beats the first man, and it's just in that little pocket before the other defenders and the goal. It's absolutely perfect. And the second one that come in, you know, Delafeu just smashed it. keeper's made a save, and Buffon's Mori. Centre half, that's what, you know what we've been missing since Lescott. A centre half who's, well, Stones had already done it on the one that was offside, but centre half started ready to knock them in. You know, that when we were growing up, that was the trait of all our centre backs, wasn't it? You know, Mick Lyons, Derek Mountfield, you know, Dave
Barkley,
Watson, they all used to do it. Lescott was the last one to do it. So that was brilliant and perfect time. And I know there's been a bit of, you know, people saying was Lukaku offside, but I don't think he was, because the goalie made a clean save. The goalie wasn't distracted by him, and also Lukaku was clearly trying to get out the way as well. So I don't think that was an issue with that. There's a bit of an issue on their goal for me. Morales should come on, and if you watch it again, Morales is actually, we've got 3 players back. And anyone who's ever sort of played footy will know the way you're supposed to do it is you have a man back for every man plus one. You know, sure you have your spare man. Morales was marking up. Morales leaves his man to win the ball, which is fair enough, but he keeps going into the box. So when he loses it, they've got an extra man. Then that's not Morales' fault. I don't understand why he was that player, because even if you think about Morales, he's an attacking player, he's a big lad, he should really be in the box. That should have been one of our defenders or one of our holding midfielders doing that job. So that we got overrun. But you know, you look what Aguero does. It's
the problem for me was it was 2 against 1 on Coleman, so down the right hand side. I know Fernandino knocks it on, but I couldn't understand why.
But that was Morales' job.
Yeah, but it was over on the opposite side. I don't understand why when he's pulled that down. Coleman should have done better, to be honest. Aguero pulls it down. He should have just blocked him off, really, tried to take him out, and he hasn't. And then
his first touch.
No, the first touch is brilliant, but you can still get tight, can't you, after that? If you look, he takes it down and comes back inside. He should be then dragged across, but puts a good ball. It was a good counter-attack goal. It was a bit frustrating. He comes back into 3 Everton plays and still is able to thread the ball through. I think Bezic is slacking and doesn't see the run of Navas, who's quick. And he finished it well. To be fair, someone asked me, or asked on our comments thing on your video, did we blame Joel for the goal?
No, someone said if that had been Howard in goal, we would have blamed him for the goal. I
don't know. I thought he finished it quite well.
But, I don't know what he could have done more, but
but anyway, it was a good goal. But you know, Everton come right back out the blocks, and great ball in from Gareth Barry, and the big man's there again. You know, 19 and 24 games. You can't ask for more than that.
No, you can't. As you said, the crowd was still backing the team, and what a ball by Barry! What a ball by Barry! Just put it right into the danger. Lukaku had just been down a couple of minutes early with that injury. Perfect timing. You know, he's becoming absolute all-round striker. I thought he had a great game. You know, to take Mangala off and bring the Michaelis off. I mean, that takes some doing. That.
Yeah. I think it was a great ball. It was a great header. And they're the goals that he's getting now that he wasn't getting. You know, they're real centre forwards goal, because he believes the ball will come in now. He's making the run, and I don't think he had one of his better games, but I thought he was good. I thought he led the line well. He bullied them, you know, when they were panicking every time he broke, because
he's got that aura about him now, hasn't he? Yeah. Where defenders are already worried, and I don't think he had that before. I think before maybe October, some people thought he was a soft touch. If you got into him, you wouldn't, you know. But I think
he probably thought
he was a
bit of a soft touch.
He said that himself.
Duncan, hasn't he? And he's got a bit angry and a bit stronger. And when you've got a centre forward like him, who's big and powerful and can run, defenders don't like players like that. And he's got right in the face, isn't he? Listen, it's a great header from 6 or 7 yards out. And you know, Everton fully deserved. You know, we had chances with Barkley. We had one that got put across. He nearly got on the end. I think that might have been off. But we looked dangerous all the time. And I know they had a couple of chances as well, which you'd expect. But other than that, I thought they closed the game out really, really well. I mean,
well, a couple of things. I mean, you know, is there a disappointment that we didn't score more goals last night?
Well, of course, but because before they scored, Aguero's just flashed one wide, and you're thinking, could be our night this, because they're running out of ideas. So it was so disappointing to give the goal away in the manner in which we did. It was our corner, you know, and sometimes you're thinking, that's right, you know, get on the end of a corner, hit it to the back post, so it's harder to defend them. You know, so that's frustrating that they score from our set piece. But of course, listen, we'd all love to be sat here with a 3-0 win, wouldn't we? But it was about taking an advantage to the Etihad, and that's what we've done, do you know.
I just wanted to mention, I mean, obviously, we mentioned the two midfield there. I mean, Ross Barkley, I mean, what did you make of his performance? Because I thought he was brilliant again. He's just lacking that final ball, which was more notable last night because he's playing, and it was more notable for the last 30 minutes on Sunday because he's playing now. He was playing a little bit more. He's playing as the second striker, the split striker, isn't he? So his final ball still lets him down. That's very clear. But I think what people have got to realise is that's not the be-all and end-all of his game. He was brilliant last night. He put in a real shift. His link-up play all over the pitch. His ability to get the ball and keep it. I mean, when he gets the ball, no one takes it off him. The only time Ross loses the ball is practically that through ball all the time. And it annoys people because obviously, you know, you'll see a great chance and then Ross's ball will just be off. Like literally under hit like half of the passes he plays when, you know, players through. But I think people out there who are having a little moan at him have got to appreciate the rest of his game because 90% of his game is brilliant. And we're talking about a 22-year-old who, if he gets that last 10%, he's going to be an absolute world beater.
People I've seen on I've done the ratings and a few people come back with he was crap, he was awful, he was this, he was that, and you're thinking, again, I respect everyone's opinion, everyone's got, everyone, that's up to you, but everyone sees that. People know about you, so it's neither here nor there. I respect it, I don't necessarily agree with it, but everyone sees the game differently, and that's what's so interesting, isn't it? But for me, like I said the other day, his baseline performance is a 7 out of 10 now.
Yeah.
He was. I think I gave him 7 or 7.5 because I thought, yeah, the final through ball didn't come off, but what he's doing, what people aren't seeing is, if that pass comes off,
yeah,
the players runs in every time, and he done one last night. He pulled it out the sky in the first half with a drag back and left 2 City players for dead, and then he's tried one with the outside of his foot. If it gets through, runs in on goal with the keeper, and you know when that comes off, people will be like, oh my God, what a ball! But they're only going to come off if he tries them in a game. He's got to try that. I don't want him to go like that, and then think that ball's too hard and turn back and pass it back 10 yards because that isn't Ross Barkley. He plays on the edge. That's what Gaza was like. You know, I'm not saying he's as good or whatever, but that's what Paul Gascoigne was like, and that was why you'd get those kind of players are like that. They get it to the edge of the box, you know, and it might be that wrong ball. He doesn't always make the right choice with his passing, but that's going to come because maturity will bring that. The more games he plays, he'll realise I'll be a bit more careful with that. I had no problem with him last night.
We're seeing a load more to his game now, aren't we? We're seeing
physical side.
when he do it all, he used to do it all the time. His
Yeah.
pass, there's like 9 times out of 10 his pass used to be wrong, but now he's get his head up. The amount of times now he gets his head up and sees a fullback or Delafeu and he'll put it in. He doesn't lose the ball either, hardly ever lose the ball when he gets it. He's so strong in possession. And I thought he had a really good game.
For me, he's just one of those players that people expect unbelievable things from all the time. And if he doesn't do that, then he's crap. And yet other players get away with, you know, other players will give the ball, like Lukaku will give some ridiculous passes and you go on. There was one last night, and I think it was 0-0, the ball got played through to him. Someone dinked it into him, he was in the box on his right foot to shoot, he read the keeper, and he tries to turn back inside to his left foot and he get a block in, and you're like, just hit it with your right foot, and people will go, oh no, but that's wrong, son. And you're like, well, you can't call Barkley out for something and then allow other people.
Funny enough, because there's two examples from last night. There's the one he shot, this is Barkley, and Big Willie's made a save, that one-arm save, and people say, Lukaku's doing that on the penalty spot.
He wasn't on a penalty spot, it was even deeper.
But people were like, why didn't you pass? And then there's the one that he's rolled across the front of the area, and people are like, why didn't you shoot? So he can never win with some people.
With some people, when he moves.
Don't say that.
Do you honestly believe if he continues to play here and people continue to grow?
I genuinely believe Ross might be the one that stays. And I don't mean that out of naivety.
I hope he is.
I just think he might be the one.
I hope he's.
I just think by the time his development is like near it, we might be near it.
Yeah, we might be, and that's the thing, isn't it? What I'm trying to say is, What I was saying, yeah, get me one if we had someone who could get them. What I was trying to say was, stay top them drinks up, is it's one of those, it's the whole thing about it is he will only be really recognised as a top player when he goes to some people. But I think a lot of people see what he's doing now, and that one where you're talking about with the Lukaku one, he won that. Otamendi was about to put it out, and his shoulder pad, he made it himself. He's flashed the shot against the keeper. If you actually look at Lukaku, he's much deeper. He's moaning at the end like that, but he's actually, if Ross would have rolled it back, they'd have got a block in anyway, because it wouldn't have got there. So it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I think he played quite well. I don't think there's anyone who I could sit here and go, they didn't play well early last night. I think
the other thing I was going to mention is typical Everton. We've been bemoaning the lack of subs. We made 3 subs last night and ended up with 10 men because of an injury. It's absolute typical Everton. But okay, we've lost Ron to an injury. Don't know how bad that's going to be. As far as I'm concerned, it could be 3 weeks. As far as I'm concerned, so he's back for the second leg. I'm not really that bothered.
I don't think he'd have played Saturday, will he, anyway?
No, so he's got a week, hasn't he? He's got a week. He'll be desperate to come back for the Chelsea game. Obviously, Seamus Coleman is the big one, because we haven't really got anyone to replace him with. John Stones, yes, could go to right back and Jags would come in, but
I think Holgate will play.
Well, I'd like to see Saturday someone like Holgate come in at right back, be given a go, and if he gets on with it, he does all right, then throw him in at City. That'd be interesting. Be interesting to see.
No, I mean, I think Holgate will play Saturday, but I think Stones will be in it.
Okay.
And then we'll have a new right back.
Okay, well that could be something else. But how they dealt with that last 5 or so minutes was fantastic. 10 men on the pitch, 2-1 up, and they just kept the ball. It was absolutely brilliant.
It was brilliant and bizarre.
Yeah.
Because why couldn't he do it against Stoke? Why couldn't he do it against other teams? It was a bit mad, but it just showed the ability. It showed that side of Roberto Martinez's philosophy, when it works, keeping the ball rather than just lumping it, is brilliant the way they managed it. But you know, it's like you said, we said the other day, there's a time and a place, isn't there, to do it, and I thought they'd done it brilliantly last night. Worked it hard, worked it into corners, worked it into channels, and City kind of looked, after they couldn't get the ball for a couple of minutes, they kind of looked as though they just went, alright, we'll take this 2-1. You know.
That's the interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, we're happy with the 2-1 because effectively our players have run themselves into the ground. You know, it was a great atmosphere, everyone was together. There's not really much else we could do under the circumstances, but I suppose from a City point of view, they'll be looking at that and thinking, okay, well, we got beat 2-1, they've lost a few players, and if that's the best they've got, they might be thinking in their heads, oh, we'll do them at home. So it is set up, I suppose, right on the knife edge. We've got that advantage. So it is going to be set up right on that knife edge. So
they should be expecting to do so, though. The amount of money they've got, the players they've got. Of course they should, they're only a goal behind. But what I would say is, I ain't seen anything last night from them defensively that worries me. That doesn't suggest we can't score a couple there, no matter who they bring in.
What I'm more hopeful about is the fact that I think last night was the benchmark, best performance of the season, and that is the benchmark for me for how they play. And I think that will give them the confidence going into the second leg, thinking, I know next Wednesday's going to be a big one as well, but I think for that game people will be thinking, right, we can do these, we're good enough to beat these, we've done it once.
Don't forget, it comes down to a one-off game now.
Yeah.
Everton only need a draw.
Yeah.
It's a one-off game. I wouldn't say they've got 1 foot at Wembley, of course I wouldn't, but they're ahead in the tie, so it's a draw. Get a draw there. I mean, listen, we said this last year when we went to Kiev and we got spanked. But, you know, if they plays a team that can contain, we only need a draw, they've got to beat us. Yeah. And I think we'll score there. So it's about how we defend. Jags will be back in, we know that, because Stones will probably be right back for it, you know, so we'll have 3 experienced players in there. And we'll take our chances, you know. I think the ball took it yesterday, we wanted the win, we needed the win, you know, and you know, we had a decent performance against Spurs second half of the weekend. We beat City last night. Now, you know, we've got Dagenham at the weekend, a chance to record back-to-back wins, which they've not done. So, you know, let's hope that from now on we can start getting that belief and kick on a little bit, because it's now's the time to do it, because we've got some big games coming.
Defo. Before my voice goes. Right, tell us what you think in the comments. Last night, how was it for you? Are you happy with the manager, happy with the players, and also the fans as well? Tell us what you think. Can we win this trophy? Can we go to the Etihad and get the result that we need to get us through? Tell us all in the comments. Also on Twitter as well as @Toffee TV 1. On Facebook it is facebook.com/Toffee TV EFC. And don't forget to subscribe as well. 7,000, that's the next one. 7,000 subs. Get us there, and we'll see you soon on Toffee TV.
Right, but it's all for a good cause. Absolutely fantastic night at Goodison Park.
But the adrenaline was just got me through it, you know what I mean? It was tremendous, and you see so many people turned out for the game.